Chapter 20. Jonathan Stonegal was not the type of man who deferred to anyone, even old acquaintances, partners, and friends. When Rika Planchette was ushered into his office late in the afternoon, looking sweaty and disheveled from the long flight and the cab ride through a snowy New York City, Stonegal didn't even rise. Planchette rushed the desk and leaned over, extending a hand. Stonegal grabbed it lightly with one hand, straightening what Rika had displaced with the other. "Thanks for inviting me. Long flight. Bad traffic." Stonegal pointed to a side chair, and Planchette dropped into it, his coat and briefcase in his lap. "Is there a place for this?" he said apologetically, holding his coat aloft. Stonegal scowled and pushed the intercom button. "Frederica, come and take the man's coat, would you? What's the matter with you?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Planchette," she said, hurrying in. As soon as she was gone, Stonegal got to the point. "Tell me how things are at Casa Carpathia. How is Ms. Ivanisova doing?" "Well, she goes exclusively by Viv Ivans these days, and whatever for? Hiding her Russian ethnicity, I guess." "Again, why?" "No idea. Nikolai has drawn Leonardo Fortunato close as an advisor, gave him an office in the compound." Good. I know Leon. Has the potential to be a sycophant, but he'll be an asset. Business was great until the dust-up with Intercontinental." "More than a dust-up, I'd say," Stonegal said. "Will I ever see my 100 million again?" "That's way beyond my area of expertise," Planchette said. "Corona is confident, but the failure hit them hard, too. If Carpathia had to default, it couldn't happen at a worse time. His political opponent could use it to crush him. If he doesn't, Nikolai seems a shoo-in." "He needs to remain a shoo-in. Assure him I will cover the loan. I want it back, make no mistake, but I will temporarily, personally guarantee it. That way he can categorically deny any charge brought by Tismanianu. I can't wait for the election. When is it?" "First week of March. It'll be so good to have that old fool out of there. And our man in." That made Stonegal smile. "And our man in. It's just the first baby step of many great strides, Rika. Does it seem like a quarter-century since we launched into this?" "Time has flown, Mr. Stonegal. It's been a privilege. Tell me about our boy. What kind of a man has he become? Will he do us proud once in office?" Dirk, of course, had nothing at stake and little to have to get back to Princeton for, so Cameron couldn't fault him for sleeping soundly through the ordeal. A tiny family inn had allowed the college boys to sleep on couches in the lobby until a room opened at dawn when a crew of emergency workers checked out. Cameron spent most of his time pacing and calling around, trying to see if there was a chance of his getting to the airport in time for his flight to Tucson. No go. When the clock finally slid past when a miracle might have allowed him to make it, Cameron tried to sleep, putting off the dreaded call to his family. He finally dozed fitfully for a few hours until awakened by a harsh sun. Unfortunately, while the snow had stopped, the sun melted only enough snow and ice to cause the roads to be closed when the temperature plummeted yet again. Even snowplows were having trouble gaining purchase on the road. Cameron and Dirk were stuck. "Your mother is going to be terribly disappointed, Cameron," his father said on the phone. "Well, I am too, Dad. I don't see what else I could have done." "Maybe you should have come out here instead of going to Boston." "Well, sure, in hindsight, that would have been the right thing to do, but Mom wanted me to go, and I would have missed out on the job opportunity of a lifetime." He told his father all about it, was set back by a less than enthusiastic response, and asked to talk to his mother. "You can't right now, Cam. She's having a bad day." "What does that mean?" "Sleeps on and off, can't eat, isn't coherent. The doc thinks we ought to get her to the hospital, but she puts up such a fuss when we try. She's getting worse." "What? Where you been, boy? Course she's getting worse." That's what cancer does. It kills you in the end. Well, I know that, Dad. I'm just saying, is it imminent or... I don't know what imminent means, but I think you'd better still get out here as soon as you can. Dad, I'm broke. My ticket was non-refundable. My car is probably shot. I don't even know how I'm going to get back to school. Well, you'd better think of something, Cameron. Your mother wants to see you. Nikolai had to hand it to Fortunato, who proved right about Tismaниanu and the debate challenge. The excuses for not engaging in yet another made the incumbent look like a loser. Nothing is served by these wastes of time, Tismaниanu said. I should think that Mr. Carpathia would have more important things to do than invest his energies in criticizing everything I have tried to do for the people of Romania. For instance, he could apply himself to pulling his vast empire out of a deep hole of debt. Should he go bankrupt due to a reckless investment in an American technological scheme, the taxpayers will have to foot the bill. Avoiding that, it seems to me, would be a more worthy use of his time. Nikolai's camp fired back immediately with a challenge to prove that Carpathian trading carried even 1 cent of debt. Tismaниanu bit and bit hard, announcing that an examination of the public record at Intercontinental Bank would bear out his charges. Within an hour, press releases blanketed Bucharest, announcing that Intercontinental had confirmed that Nikolai Carpathia and Carpathian International Trading are customers in good standing with this financial institution, and neither the man nor his company carries any debt. Rather, much of Mr. Carpathia's holdings are invested here. That, virtually, was the end of Tismaниanu and his candidacy. For all practical purposes, he was finished. He would never recover, and it was clear Nikolai Carpathia would be swept into office. Cameron sat dejectedly in Dirk Burton's dorm room as his friend ran his car towing and repair bills through the calculator. "Here's the happy total," Dirk said, ripping off the paper and holding it in front of Cameron's nose. "Yuck. I don't know how I'm even going to get to Tucson over spring break. Why not go for an advance from the Globe?" Now there was an idea. Cameron had never been one to beg. That would be a hard phone call. But after he took one from his brother, he was more willing to try Dirk's idea. He was alone in his own room late that night when Jeff called. "Do you not get it, or what?" Jeff said. "Of course I get it. What do you want me to do?" "Get out here. How hard is that to understand? Do you have no priorities?" "You got a magic wand, Jeff? I'm hopelessly in debt here. Beg, borrow, steal, do something. Mom is dying. She's in intensive care, asking for you." "Thanks for that guilt trip. I thought you ought to know. It's not pretty, Cam. You know you're her favorite, and don't start with that again, Jeff. Come on. I'm okay with it. I just wish you'd live up to it, earn it. All I've done is stayed here and done whatever I could for the family, for the business, and what do I get? Taken for granted. You're out there doing your own thing, finding yourself, chasing your dream, and going busted picking up some award. And who is she asking for? I'm sorry about that, Jeff. I'm sure she appreciates everything you've done. You don't get it, Cam. After all this time, you really don't. I don't really care. I'm doing what I think is right. The point is, if she wants to see you before she dies, I want her to see you before she dies. Get here somehow, would you? I'll do my best." The next morning, hands shaking, Cameron placed a call to Dizzy Rowland. "How good to hear from you, son. Got a story for us?" "No, I wish. Then what can I do for you?" "Well, I was sort of hoping you had a story for me. You're the guy we'll come to if anything breaks there that ought to be in the Globe. You may have a better handle on that than we do." "How about a human interest story?" "Well, sure. That's your strength, and we would have to count on you to ferret that out. There's not much hard news out of Princeton that Boston readers can't get elsewhere. So, yeah, some drama, human interest, pathos. Got something in mind? How about a college student who can't get home to see his dying mother because he's out of money and his car died? Roland was silent a moment. That could work. Handled delicately, of course. Not too sentimental. Just straightforward. Maybe covers how the kid finally makes the trip happen. Friends kick in, that kind of thing. I could shoot it to you on spec. Sure, we'll take a look. Here's the hard question. Shoot. Any way I could get an advance on it? On a spec piece? What if we don't take it? Then I'd owe you. You short, Cameron? You need money? Yeah. It's highly unusual, but if it's for a good cause, I might be able to work something out. Just this once, you know. We're not a bank. I know, but see, I'm the subject of the story. Roland sighed long and loud. Why didn't you say so, son? Just tell me how much you need, and don't exploit that story unless there's really something there. Tell me where to send the money.